aku dunia. Jihad fisabilillah, sungguhan noda peyat, paninin dekau ingat, agama Islam, tepung mana muslim, Nabiya Barakiyaya, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Minal mujahidin, hanya syahid sakan jihad, sopanin intergiyo, ku agama bersawigat, tak dengan diri pakat, tak bersapa katapan, ayat berpagunutan, ku pergi salib berkor. Gairah dan pikiran supaya ku dunia. Jihad fisabilillah, sungguhan noda peyat, paninin dekau ingat, ku agama Islam, tepung ku bangga muslim, ya Barakiyaya, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah.
والسلام على رسول الله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين وبعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. 562 years ago, since 1450, the Bangsamoro nation, free and sovereign, with territorial government under a certain system, already existing and recognized by some other independent states. It is a historic gathering for the promotion of peace, justice, and cooperation among people. Its significance on the ongoing peace negotiation and its eventual success is certainly difficult to measure.
المجاهدين and leader of the Bangsamoro nation, brother الحاج مراد إبراهيم. تحرير. will deliver his statement.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Peace be with you. Good afternoon. Frankly, I am extremely happy to see you once again in Darabanان. Thank you for coming. I presume many of you, if not all, have been here since day one of this Bangsamoro Leaders Assembly and have seen hundreds of thousands of our supporters and sympathizers coming all the way from faraway places including Palawan, Manila, and other areas in Luzon and Visayas. Many foreign dignitaries, including from the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, Malaysia, Libya, Indonesia, Europe, and the United States, among others, have also come and responded to our request to grace this affair. As part of confidence-building measure, the Aquino administration has also sent Secretary Teresita Jean Quintos Lilis and Government Chief Peace Negotiator Dean Maribek Leonen to show their solidarity and the search for the elusive peace in Mindanao and the island. Members of the International Contact Group and the International Monitoring Team have also attended, as well as officials of the United Nations aid agencies operating in Mindanao. The objective of this Moro Leaders Assembly are twofold. First, to engage the Bangsamoro leaders into a frank and brotherly dialogue in order to get their views, advices, and wisdom on a problem that nags our people for decades and how to get out of this mess effectively. Admittedly, one of our problems is about our weaknesses to act together with one voice. While we do not fight one another in open warfare, but the truth is that we are practiced in our ways to advance the cause of our people for freedom and right to self-determination. And second, we requested them to share their thoughts in how best the MILF could carry on its peace negotiation with the Philippine government and how to get the most of the endeavor in the form of self-governance short of granting our people their independence. I'm happy to inform you that most of those present, representing various affiliations and parties, wholeheartedly offered their support or advice to these peacemaking efforts between the MILF and the government. And those who cannot say it openly confided to us that they do not stand on the way. By this, they are already helping us indirectly. On the first issue of unity, the result of the dialogue with the Moro leaders yesterday was very encouraging. Overwhelmingly, they strongly suggested that the coordinating mechanism of unity agreed upon by the MILF and the MNLF through the initiative of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation be activated, strengthened immediately, wherein the MILF, MNLF, and all its factions and other Moro organizations, after fulfilling certain qualifications, will radiate and work together to promote the general welfare of our people and to propel to new heights our struggle for freedom and rights to self-determination. If you, however, express some reservations, but our Secretariat took note of them, which will be deliberated on expeditiously as soon as opportunity allows it. They also unanimously endorsed the negotiation of the MILF with the government of the Philippines. They wished that the process would not only fast-track, but has to conclude without delay. They also reiterated the need for inclusivity, which the MILF had already adopted as a matter of principle and policy. We told them that we are negotiating for the entire Bangsamoro. We are negotiating for the entire Bangsamoro people in Mindanao, not for the MILF, but for everybody, including migrants in the area. Our rule is merely confined during the transition period, and after which those who win the most seats in the assembly under a ministerial system of government will form the government and appoint those tasked to administer it. This is the reason why we are calling our brothers in the MNLF, including those of its various factions, to form with us a united front through the coordination mechanism organized by the OIC after the MILF and MNLF signed an agreement to this effect on May 20, 2010. As regards the position of the MILF in the current peace negotiation with the Philippine government, it is very clear and unambiguous. We seek genuine self-governance for our people in a state-sub-state asymmetrical arrangement where the powers of government are divided between the central and the state or sub-state government, and each level of government has sovereignty in some areas and shares powers in other areas. The status of the self-governing component. The status of the self-governing component entity will be constitutionally entrenched and will not be altered by a unilateral decision of the central government. This is the rule rather than the other way in other states following the federal system of government, including that of the United States of America, Malaysia, Germany, Australia, and Canada. As everyone is aware of, the ongoing GPH-MILF peace negotiation is now in its third year into the administration of President Benigno Aquino III, and the 15th year since it commenced in 1997. The two parties had hardly moved from where the previous Arroyo administration had left them off in June 2010. Today, it is passing through a difficult test. Virtually, the status is both make or break, unquote. Anything can still happen, and any moment. The road is not paved. It is full of twists and turns. The only consolation under the Aquino dispensation was the signing of the GPH MILF 10-point decision points on principles last April 24. While it is mainly declaration of principles, but definitely it provided for the much sought for template that will guide the parties in fleshing out the details of every item thereof. During the next round of talks, we will discuss the roadmap power sharing, wealth sharing, scope of territory, normalization, basic law, and many others. What is in store for this negotiation? We do not know. We can just hope for the best. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Abdul Majid. I am representing as a president and at the same time a correspondent of the Homeland News Agency, a homeland operating in the Bangsamoro homeland, which is newly established, but we are already operating. My question, sir, Your Excellency, is that it has been noted throughout the world that the Philippine government or the Philippines, represented by the Philippine government, is tagged as the most killer or murderers of journalists and media men, including activists. And then my question is, what must be the stand of the MILF, if there is any, and the policy, in order that the Bangsamoro homeland, governed under the leadership of the MILF, will not be included as murderers, killers of media men and journalists, including activists. And that is my question, sir.
Thank you very much. We have been very consistent as far as freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and in respect for international human rights law and human rights. This has been inscribed in our agreements with the Philippine government. In fact, under the framework agreement we have signed in 2001 in Tripoli, Libya, one of the major provisions there is respect for international human rights law and human rights.
I'm keeping to Castro, published ng Food Banner Balita. Sir, in some certain areas, sir, meron na pong mga movements doon na they want federal form of government because destinado na sila sa Katolikuyang administrations. How do you comment on this?
As far as the MILF is concerned, we will not be campaigning for a nationwide federal form of government because we do not want the issue of the Bangsamoro people being complicated. So we are just aspiring for as I have said, a state and sub-state asymmetrical relation. And if the other regions in the Philippines will follow, then we cannot comment on that, but we may welcome. But
Okay, I'm June Bakota of PCRH and Central Mindanao. Chairman, since nasa midway na yung term ni Presidente Aquino, ano na bang status ng dialogue with QTA?
as I have described, the negotiation between the GPS and the MILF under the present administration is now passing in a critical test. Just as I have said, we are already about 3 years in the negotiation under this administration. But there is only one substantive agreement we have signed. And this substantive agreement is still a general principles, and we still need to flesh out the details. And you know, many says that the devil is in the details.
Next, we'll go to the second row.
Good afternoon, Chairman. Celerina Monte from the Daily Manila Shimbun. Sir, you have mentioned about this parang make or break situation. So could you elaborate on that and how crucial is the upcoming peace negotiation this month?
So we can continue with with other issues that needs to be discussed.
Peace negotiation will be a make or break, if ever. And how will the upcoming ARMM elections play into this? Because I believe the Philippine government said that if ever the elections push through and no agreement has yet been signed, then they will honor the decision of the people and they will honor the people who will be sitting in the ARMM.
Well, as I have said, it can be a make or break, but we hope it will be make. But then, as far as the ARMM is concerned, the MILF is very consistent on our position. We do not recognize the ARMM as a solution to the problem, and we have nothing to do with the ARMM. We will not recognize it as a solution to the problem. And if ever the government will hold on the election, we have nothing to do with it.
Okay, we will now jump to the second row. Gentleman over there, must be raising his hand. Yeah, okay. Definitely go ahead.
I'm Ronald Balawi. I'm an academic, but I occasionally write opinion pieces for Rappler and Philippine Star Online. I observe that the Bangsamoro Leaders Assembly established strong social ownership for the MILF position. Will it influence the government position?
Basically, we do not say that it will influence the Philippine government. But then, I think if the Philippine government respects the will of the people have spoken. The hundreds of thousands of people, officially we have recorded 550,000 people who attended the consultation and the assembly. Many have not yet been have not been able to register, but the registered figure is 550,000, more or less. So, if the government really respects the will of the people, then the Bangsamoro people have spoken, and these gathered here are not only from Maguindanao province, Lanao province. It is from all corners of the Bangsamoro homeland. There are delegations from Sulu. There are delegations from Tawi-Tawi. There are delegations from Davao, from South Cotabato, and even Palawan. And our Bangsamoro people in Manila have also represented here.
Okay, so any follow-up questions?
Chairman Romiswari was invited to the assembly and he did not come. And what's the reaction of the MLF and the Bangsamoro people?
Well, for us, what is important is we have invited him and we have manifested our inclusiveness. The MLF is not our enemy. We consider it as an ally. And despite the MLF being splintered into many factions, we still recognize all the Brother Nurmiswari and all the other factions. In fact, we have invited other factions of the MLF, and they responded positively.
Okay, we go first to the ladies for yeah.
Assalamualaikum, Chairman. We would like to commend the MILF for the success of the Bangsamoro Leaders Assembly in July 7 sa Sabado po. Congratulations to Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Yung tanong po, sabi,
Excuse me. The media outfit.
I'm Lori May Andong of ABS-CBN Cotabato po. Chairman, tulad ng tanong na hindi dumalo si Chairman Nurmiswari, ano po yung efforts na ginagawa ngayon ng MILF? Doon naman po sa Miswari faction, I've learned that you've been talking with them in formal talks, like the recent of it is in Davao City, nakita ko po yung parang joint statement.
Yes.
At yung number one na parang napagkasunduan doon, or sinasabing resulta ng pag-uusap na yon, hindi pa ready yung MNLF, tama po ba, na mag-unite or mapag-isa with the MILF?
Well, unang-una, we have several initiatives. Marami kaming initiative tungkol dito sa pagkaroon ng understanding with the MNLF. In fact, before the series of meeting, as early as 2003, we have already tried to reach the MNLF. And that is why we have signed an agreement in Kuala Lumpur. We call it an agreement with the MNLF 15-man council because at that time, Nur Miswari was no longer, I think, if I was not mistaken, that time he was detained by the government. So we had a meeting in Kuala Lumpur and we have reached an agreement to form a solidarity conference where we can discuss our differences and arrive at a common ground. Then, after that, Nur Miswari disowned the 15-man council. Then, we pursued our search for understanding with the MNLF through Brother Nur Miswari. The OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, invited us to attend the OIC conference in Dushanbe, Tajikistan in 2010, in May 2010. During this conference, the OIC Secretary General arranged a side meeting with us and Nur Miswari. And we have signed an agreement, which is the content of the agreement is generally to form a coordinating mechanism between the MNLF and the MILF, and to include even other organizations that could be included. So this was signed. But then after that, there was effort by the OIC to follow up this agreement we signed. But unfortunately, there was no, the Brother Nur is not quite keen to follow up this agreement. Now, we have followers of Brother Nur, headed by Dr. Abdurrahman Amin, his former representative to the OIC, initiated a dialogue with the MILF. And we have the second round of meeting was held in Davao, as you have mentioned. And in that agreement, we both recognize that it is no longer viable or no longer practical, no longer logical to combine the MILF and the MNLF, because we have our own set of organization and they have their own set of organization. But in the name of unity and solidarity, we were proposing to strengthen, we have agreed to strengthen the effort of the OIC to create a coordinating mechanism between the two organizations. So hopefully this will be respected by Brother Nur, and we can move forward. Thank you.
Follow-up question po. Yung pagsasagawa po ba ng Bangsamoro Leaders Assembly, was it a requirement of the government po? No.
No, we just coordinated with the government, and the government was overwhelmingly the government supported our idea to hold this assembly. But there was no encouragement from the government.
Before we proceed, I'd like to announce that the press con will be up to 4 o'clock only. And then after the press con, there will be a formation of the PIAF on the ground that the opening was held. So any members of the media who wishes to see the formation, they can do so. So now we can proceed. Yeah, there's a brother there who had earlier raised his hand.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Joe Alian, Al-Haj, lead correspondent for MRDC Press Corps. Peace and negotiation between the MILF and the GSP has went through close to about 16 years now. Advice and instruction coming from the MILF hierarchy seems to point only to one direction. As part of its principle, strategic principle perhaps, the maintenance of sobriety, patience, self-determination so as not to create or commit disruption or jeopardize the whole process has actually been followed or complied with to the fullest. The question is, what is the MILF timeline for this? I mean, until when exactly can we stay in this position? Don't you think time is rather ticking away so fast? Thank you.
As I have said in my opening statement, the MILF will continue to negotiate with the Philippine government as long as necessary. That means when we feel that it's no longer necessary to negotiate with the Philippine government. One example is if the peace process will not move, then what is the use of maintaining a ceasefire and the peace talk if it is not moving? So that's why, although we do not say there is a timeline of 1 year, 2 years, or whatever, we do not set timeline. But everything has ended, and we hope that the patience of our people will not be subject to too much trial, because we cannot also hold our people forever. So that's why, even in my personal meeting with President Noynoy Aquino in Tokyo, I have always emphasized to him that we have to fast-track the peace process, because it has been long years already. If you count it from the negotiation during the when we were together with the MNLF, it started 1975, if I was not mistaken. So it started in 1975, counting it up to now, it has been almost 40 years. But then the problem is still here with us, and it has not been addressed accordingly. So, as I have said, we have no timeline, but there is end to everything.
This thing you are talking about, everything has an end. Would this necessarily mean that should everything shall have been exhausted to the fullest? Would this mean that the bell of another widespread reawakening will again be done? What I mean is reawakening under the widespread war between the government and the MLA will take place.
What is certain is if the negotiation will fail, we will continue with the struggle. And continuing with the struggle, because the struggle is both political and armed struggle. So you cannot completely rule out the possibility of changes, radical changes in the ground if there is no more peace talks. So that is the position of the MILF.
Okay, so we now go to the brother over there. He has been raising his hands.
Assalamualaikum, sir. I'm Amir Mawani from Business World and Raptor. Sir, we want to hear this from you. In case the government rejects the compromise, what will be the next option of the MILF? Since Secretary Tella said on Saturday that the peace process is at its defining moment, and you have said a while ago that it is on a make or break stage. So another question, sir. What are the chances for a peace agreement before the year ends?
Excuse me, you asked two questions. So the second one is a follow-up question?
Yes.
Okay. The first question is what the MILF will do if the compromise will fail. You know, any negotiation, compromise is mutual from both parties. We have compromised, the government should also compromise. And as far as we are concerned, we have compromised many times already. And we feel that if not, we have reached our bottom line. We are already in our bottom line. It is very difficult for us, and it's no longer possible for us to compromise further. On the side of the government, I think if they are really solving the problem, then they have not actually compromised ever since. Because if you see the position of the GRP, all through the years since the administration of Marcos until today's administration, the solution they are offering to our people is basically the same. It is integration and counter-insurgency. Because they always believe that this problem can be resolved through a palliative solution. So I think they have not compromised. As far as the Philippine government is concerned, they have not compromised. They have not had a substantive compromise. On the MILF side, you know that the Bangsamoro people is demanding for an independent Bangsamoro state. Why? Because we feel that we are well off during the time when we are independent, even despite our war with the colonizers, the Spaniards and the Americans. But the Bangsamoro people is well off at the time. But after it has been annexed illegally to the Philippine government, then our people become minority in their own homeland. They become, they are starving. They are victim of economic imbalance. They are victim of so many harassment. And they, worst of all, they become refugees in their own homeland. So, despite that, our demand for an independent Bangsamoro state, we managed to convince our people, and also with the effort of the international community to settle for an autonomous arrangement short of independence. So with that, we have given up a very big concession. So we hope that the government this time will realize that unless there is a solution that will satisfy the aspiration of the Bangsamoro people, then this problem will go on. See, the next question was chances. As far as the MILF is concerned, we will be very happy to have an agreement within this year. But, you know, negotiation is, as I have said, there are twists and turns on the way. But we are still pinning hope to the commitment of President Aquino that within his term, or now they are saying that within this year there will be a signing of agreement with the MILF. We are still holding on that. We hope that will come true.
I'm Lr'Is, broadcast journalist from England, and a lot of broadcast online news. I would like to ask about the minimum acceptable solution of your proposal and the counter proposal of the government, which is acceptable to your end.
You know, the question here is the aspiration of the Bangsamoro people for self-governance, meaning empowering the Bangsamoro people to govern themselves. So, the bottom line is there is empowerment. We see that the present arrangement now, you will see in the ARMM, they call it autonomous Muslim region. But then there is no autonomy there. The ARMM is not empowered. In fact, it is a pure administrative arm of Malacanang. The provincial government is even stronger than the ARMM. If you see the local code, the local government code. So there is no empowerment. So our bottom line, as I have said, is empowerment of the Bangsamoro people. Let the Bangsamoro govern.
I'm from Business Junior of Mindanao Scope, and these are the religion. My question consists of two parts. First, will the Bangsamoro state respect the Bill of Rights embodied in the Constitution of the central government? And what will be the system of private real property ownership in the proposed Bangsamoro state?
It is contained in the 10-point principles we have signed recently that aside from the basic rights already enjoyed by the people, we have enumerated other basic rights, which is also contained in the Philippine Constitution. So, we can assure you that basic rights of the people will be duly respected. And as far as including the rights of women for political participation is enumerated in the basic rights we are going to, we have signed with the Philippine government. So, as far as right to property, private property, we have been very consistent also on that. Before this signing of the 10-point principles, we have already been saying that all private properties legally owned will be duly respected. But then, if there are those properties which are not legally owned, then we have to do justice to the people who actually own the property. So that is our assurance.
Aaron Kawadbat from TV5 Manila. Sir, I just want to clarify things. Is the establishment of an autonomous Bangsamoro state a prerequisite for the peace talks between the GPH and the MLF to continue?
Actually, the establishment of a Bangsamoro state government is what we are aiming for as a result of the negotiation. So, the product end of the negotiation, we are aiming for is this sub-state. So, as I have said, we have already reached our bottom line. We cannot compromise further. Because if this position of the MILF will still be watered down, then there is no actual autonomy. There is no actual autonomy. Thank you.
Follow-up question, sir. Sir, how far did the government or the negotiating panel of the government promise as part of their compromise to you, sir? Did they, are they receptive to this calling of the MILF for a sub-state, for a federal form of government, or are they just going to give you a political, a different political entity just like the ARMN?
You will see in the 10-point signed agreement the last time. First, both parties, meaning MILF and the GRP, agreed that the present status quo is unacceptable, and we are going to craft a new political entity that will replace the ARMM. And not only that, the status quo there means the relationship between the national government and the Bangsamoro people.
Is the word is integration also with the armed forces or what?
As far as the MILF is concerned, we are not interested in being integrated to the armed forces of the Philippines, because we have our own. We arm ourselves not because we want to become soldiers, because if it is only the aim of these people holding firearms is to become soldiers, then they will just go on a training under the Philippine Army or under the police, and they can become soldiers already. So all these people are not interested to be integrated, because what they are only after is lasting peace will be in place, and there will be no more. Everybody will be in a safe hand, and after that, people will just disarm themselves voluntarily.
Are you prepared to assume internal policing? And do you have any existing police structure in preparation for that police powers that you want to get?
It is not the MILF that will establish the police structure of the Bangsamoro state. It will be the Bangsamoro state because it will be part of their power. But the MILF is willing to support any Bangsamoro state that will be established if they need support for the policing of the area. So, but this is not a duty of the MILF. It is a duty of the newly constituted Bangsamoro state. So they will have, in our proposal, the Bangsamoro state shall have police power, meaning they have to organize their own police. Aside, after organizing their police force, then the Bangsamoro state will run the police force. There is no relation with the MILF. Okay,
so it's now 4 o'clock?
You can give him one more.
Chairman,
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, I'm just curious. Once this Bangsamoro state is established, I'm wondering, are you interested to be part of that? To be like one of the leaders?
Actually, as I have said, we will be only after the period when the Bangsamoro state is in place. After that, then we will open to everybody. Yeah, I mean we will be only in the transition as MILF. After the transition, the Bangsamoro state will be in place. Everybody can run as long as they are qualified. Now, for us, then we will decide when we cross the bridge. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Chairman. We would like to remind the media that copies of the speeches of the chairman are available after the presentation.
Sumingit ko ang Mindanao, ingadap ilong bayan, Mindanao ang ko, o mga mujahidin, sabang kong paninindan, agama ay Islam, dahiran dan pikiran, budaya ku dunia. Jihad fi sabilillah, sungguhan noda peyat, paninin kekawingan, agama Islam, kampung mga Muslim, Amiyabad, Amiyaya.
Para matupad ang pangarap ng MILF na magkaroon ng resource at pamahalaan, ay dapat magkaroon ng pagbabago sa kalikang batas ng Pilipinas. Kung hindi rin magbabago ang posisyon, isa lamang daw papel ang magiging kasunduan ng dalawang panig. Mula rito sa Camp Darabanang Sultan Kudarat na Mindanao, Errol Kabatbat, News 5.
Kulba.
Yani apa nganin? Na dapat ko na lang sa kapagtakbir. Allahu Akbar. Sabay mo na.
Kamu nama kamu.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. مقر حيث أقيم على الاجتماع الخاص بشعب بانجسامورو منذ 3 أيام بدءا من يوم 5 الموافق 9 من شهر يوليو. هؤلاء مجموعة من القوات المسلحة بانجسامورو التابعة لجبهة تحرير مورو الإسلامية، وهذا العرض الكبير للقوات المسلحة بعد المؤتمر الصحفي الذي أقامه رئيس جبهة تحرير مورو الإسلامية وقائد ورئيس وأمير والمجاهدين، مما يدل على أن هؤلاء المجاهدون مستعدون للخوض في القتال مرة ثانية أو مرة أخرى ومرات قادمة، ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يوفقهم للجهاد في سبيل الله كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: الجهاد ماض إلى يوم القيامة. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.